Hello and welcome to Kicking Tires. My name is Jimmy,
And I'm Justin.
and today it is Lightning Day, which
We have
means
some
we got
electrifying news.
the all new F-150 Lightning has been released just a few hours ago, and we got all the news, all the information for it. So, first off, let's not go into specs right away. I want to talk about the name part first, Lightning. So the Lightning Heritage name has been around for a while. First in a sport truck and in another sport truck back in like the 2000s. So now it's not a sports truck per se, right? It's just a electric truck, and they're using the name because it is an electric truck. But what do you think? I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I think the Lightning name has been kind of out of use long enough that you're not kind of messing with
Like the
what
heritage?
people, well, the heritage and also what people know as Ford Lightning. Most people younger than us will not even know what a Lightning is. Uh, you know,
So
Best car in Fast and Furious.
the first Fast and Furious.
Yeah, they had one before that too. They had a Lightning from the previous generation, uh, the the previous generation F-150
Yeah, I
before
think the
the.
96, I think it was.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the Mach E Mustang,
Exactly.
right? So like they're taking the name that they had before and
Mhm.
they're kind of developing something new with it.
And it's
Some
a
people,
good name.
it's a good name. It's a good name for the truck. But there are going to people that like will absolutely hate it. Absolutely hate it.
uh,
But anyways, let's go into specs. Um there are two battery options. The base battery is 230-mile range or 370 kilometers. The extended battery, that's 300 miles or 482 kilometers. Estimated right now, the targets are 10,000 pounds for towing and 2,000 pounds for payload. In terms of power, the base model will have 426 horsepower and 775 pound-feet of torque, while the bigger battery, it's going to have 563 horsepower, but still 775 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is mid 4 seconds. Ford claims this is the fastest F-150 they've ever released and the best handling as well, as all the weight for the battery is nice and down low. And the battery, it weighs quite a bit. It's 1,800 pounds of battery in this truck.
yeah, that's a good 30% weight increase for so it's a serious heavy duty batteries going in this thing, I guess. But you're not losing anything in terms of actual truck performance, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
towing capacity is great. Payload is great,
Yeah.
speed is awesome, and even the range is respectable, right? Even the standard trim having 230 miles, that's gonna fit a lot of people's daily commute just fine. Like you're not driving close to 400 kilometers a day for most people,
Mm-hmm.
and the only thing is if you're going road tripping with your Airstream, like this picture presumes, then obviously your range is going to go down a bit. So I think that is going to be one concern. I think if you're planning that kind of stuff, you have to get the extended range model,
Mm-hmm.
so you go longer between charge. But again, with the charging networks getting better every day, I don't think this is going to be as big of an issue anymore.
Yeah, I think in the future it's going to be better. Like today, right now, it's still a problem. The I know in the US it's called Electrify US, or is it Electrify
America.
Canada? Something like that. Anyways, the charging network for Canada is still horrendous. Electrify Canada chargers are not that oftenly found. The ones that we get are just like low level twos, which takes forever to charge an electric vehicle. So we still definitely have some ways to go in terms of actually a good
Mhm.
charging network. But this amazing truck. One of the
Yeah.
coolest things about it, I think, is the front. Um, 14 cubic feet, I think it was 14.1 cubic feet of space in the front and 400-pound payload. And it's power operated to open and close. So if you're, going to Costco, for example, you don't have to put it in the bed. You put it in the front. Everything would surely fit inside. 14
Yeah.
cubic feet is larger than most trucks, or sorry, most cars' trunks.
Yeah, that's a standard kind of four-door sedan trunk, right? I also love, because that's going to be sealed off, that it's got to work as a frunk. I love what they've done with the front end styling.
Mhm.
Like the regular F-150, when they released this generation, I'm like, oh, it kind of doesn't look as good as the previous one. Just maybe I'm biased on that, but
Yeah, you were
this one
biased.
looks better for sure. Like this one, especially with that light strip running across the top, it just looks so much sleeker. But it still has a Ford look to it with that two-bar grill kind of opening, well, fake opening on the grill,
Yeah,
and really thick accents around the headlights. Just gives it a lot of character, a lot of presence, and it the way the bumper integrates is really sleek.
mhm.
Hmm.
I think it's a good looking truck. I think the best thing about it is it's not a far departure from
Hmm.
F-150 lineup, because let's be honest, truck people, they stick to not only the brands but what they love most, right? And if you create something completely different, I don't think it's going to be as popular. Like the
Yeah.
Cybertruck, it looks amazing. I think it's really cool, but fundamentally there's a lot of things wrong with, the way that it's designed. It
Yeah.
doesn't have a standard truck bed on the sides. Like you can't reach in to the bed to grab items. It's not that great as a work truck because of that. And in like the promo videos that they have, that the tailgate that comes down, it's stainless steel and looks like it wasn't like lifted or anything like that. So it's going to be heavy for you to bring that up or down. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
fundamental things that's wrong with the Cybertruck, which this won't have because it's just an F-150.
Yeah, it starts off as the best-selling truck, right? It's got a great platform to run off of, and it does all of the truck things and then some.
Mhm.
And what better vehicle to base the first mass market electric truck? Like this is huge, right? This is, American, as far as the car market globally speaking, the F-150 takes up a big chunk of it, even though it's only really a North American vehicle. In terms of volume, like this car is super important. Um, and this is really the first, I think, it should be the first real mass market truck that we'll see. We were talking about it before the show where we don't know which one is going to come out first as far as the Hummer, we got the Cybertruck, we got Rivian. But as far as, I don't think it's about who comes out first. It's which one is going to change the landscape, right? And I think the F-150 is the one to do it.
Yeah.
Is if you want um, alternative fuels and just less dependence on fossil fuels, this is the truck to do it. I think
And
the
there's a big
Cybertruck is
reason.
cool, but F-150 is the one that people really buy.
Yeah. And there's a reason for it because of, like, the main thing I would say is the price point. Because you can get into one for under $40,000 American. That is like the commercial grade version. So think of like the XL version of the F-150.
Mhm.
The one that most people will probably look into is the XLT or the Lariat version. The XLT, it's about 53,000 before incentives. So that's probably what people are going to look into. But it has a lot of features. Like it can power your house for 3 days. 3 days.
Insane.
And like it's smart in its ways to power your house. Like the standard Ford charger that you use, you plug that into your vehicle. If you're, home, whatever it may be, you lose power. That same charging cable is what's used to power back into your home. You don't need, to rig anything up, to plug it into 120 or anything like that. It's just off that charge port. It senses that your home has no power. It uses its truck batteries to power that. And if you're on a job site, I think there's 11 outlets within the vehicle for you to charge or power your tools. Like, there's so many cool things about it that makes it so useful.
Yeah.
And the interior is nice too. I mean, it looks like the standard F-150. The base model will have like the 12-inch unit that you get in the F-150, and there's a 12-inch digital display. But on the top trim, you can get the 15.5-inch. It's the same one that's in the Mach E, essentially. And you get
Yeah.
the better Sync 4A, I believe it's called.
Yeah, when this generation came out, we were complaining how similar and unevolved it looked from the last one, but getting the Mach-E screen definitely pushes it quite ahead.
Mhm.
Yeah. Independent rear suspension too, eh?
Oh,
So the
yeah.
chassis is reworked to work around these batteries and give it better handling and yeah, give it that mass market appeal.
Yeah. The first F-150 to have independent rear suspension.
Yeah, it has coilover suspension in the back. It's
Yeah,
pretty.
it's actually really unique.
That's
There's a
pretty
video
sick.
on Ford's website of how the rear suspension looks going over rougher terrain,
Yeah.
and it's just weird to see CV axles in the back of a truck.
Yeah, no, independent is the way to go. Like, as much
Ooh.
as the truck. So there's a lot of truck talk, and a lot of people that buy trucks or like to talk about trucks. They like to talk about like hypotheticals that no, that 0.001% of users will encounter. And yes, if you are scaling some insane desert terrain, having a solid rear axle is going to give you some advantage there. It's going to give you some uh, traction at low speeds. But for the type of driving that, especially an electric truck driver is going to do, the independent is going to be vastly superior.
Mhm.
And I think I want to talk about Ford with the EcoBoost about a decade ago when they started rolling those out. And EcoBoost, uh, it is like a great drivetrain. And then we have those traditional truck guys. They'll talk about how, oh, that's not the one you want for towing because the EcoBoost, while it can easily get 12 or 13 liters per 100k city, which is amazing for something this big, when you start towing, it goes like way downhill, especially on the highway. So if you're looking to tow, you get the V8. But the thing is, I think for 90% of the people that are just using it to drive around town, not maximizing that payload or towing capacity, uh, the EcoBoost makes a lot of sense,
Mhm.
right? Or if you're just towing something small, towing motorcycle, small boat, 21 foot, again, that EcoBoost is going to be sufficient. But it's obviously there are some situations where the V8 is superior, and there's some situations where a gas engine is superior. But I think in many ways, and in the majority of ways that people are going to use this truck, the independent suspension is going to be superior and the electrification is going to be superior.
Mhm.
Just this is coming from someone with a V8 solid axle F-150, right? Which I only use for truck things. Like I only use it to haul stuff. I don't daily drive that car at all because there's no point for me. It's not my primary vehicle. It's just for work or trailer duty. But I think for the average buyer that's using this on their daily basis, I think this is going to be great.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Oh, one thing is there's no long bed option.
yeah, so it's one cab and one bed option. So they all come with the Super Crew or Crew cab. So big 4 doors and then the 5.5 foot bed, which you know what? That's the configuration most people are going for anyways. They
Yeah.
want that larger interior space. You
It's the
don't
most
really
practical.
Yeah, you don't really see like not the double cab, whatever they call
They
it. I
call it a
can't.
super cab.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially Ford's version, because Ford's version still uses suicide doors when the rest of the industry has gone to just a shorter length rear door.
Mm.
The suicide door is not as popular. Um, I'm the oddball that has a crew cab with the long bed, and I didn't know I got the long bed because I bought the truck used. I didn't know anything about trucks at the time, and I didn't even know I bought the long bed. And I bought a bed liner for that bed, but I bought the short bed version because I assumed all crew cabs were short beds. So yeah, that was kind of embarrassing. The Yeah, I bought a drop-in liner for the wrong size. The rear looks great too. It's a lot more sculpted, just
Mhm.
more going on. But again, it's not polarizing enough that I think it would upset any buyers. Like you wouldn't look at it. Oh, I don't want the lighting. Like it looks so weird compared to the
So the light
regular.
bar only comes with the Lariat or the Platinum trim.
Mhm.
Is it Platinum? I think it's Platinum. Platinum?
Yeah.
Yeah, Platinum. The XLT doesn't get the light bar in the center. What
Mhm.
I do like is two little key things that's back here. The lightning badge that's on the rear 3/4 on the bedside. I like
Mhm.
that. That's a cool little placement for that. As well as the badge that's on the bottom right of the tailgate itself. It's a little lightning bolt with the US flag on it. It's really cool
Nice.
because I mean, if you saw President Biden speak yesterday, you actually would have seen this truck on display without any camo right behind him. A lot of people did miss it, but most truck guys and most car guys and girls did notice, hey, that looks a little different back there.
Mhm.
And he did drive it. I think he said that it was quick.
This sucker's quick, is what he said. But he drove a fully camoed one. I
Yeah,
don't know why, because as you can see, we have completely,
yeah.
production ready pictures. So what are they hiding? I'm not too sure, but maybe none of these ones in the pictures actually run,
Or
um,
real.
or are real. So yeah, I'm not sure why he had to drive that.
But yeah, I it's cool because like it still has all the utility. I think that's one of the best parts
Mhm.
about the F-150. Um, Lightning, it's not a gimmick.
It
So
has more utility though.
yeah,
That's the thing. Like
yeah.
the front, like that is a game changer. You know how much room there is in the engine bay of my V8. The V8 is
Well,
so small,
if you put a
that
supercharger, like I told you, there'll be less room.
it needs something because that V8 was
Supercharger.
designed for a Mustang. In the F-150, there's so much room under the hood that just to reach the oil cap, I have to have half of my body in the engine bay to reach it because it's so low down. I have to reach over the grill. And just to fill oil, it's always a mess because it's too far in and I can't reach it.
How tall are you again?
Like 5'10", I want to say.
Oh, okay. All right.
So,
Just want to make sure
yeah.
it's not a height issue.
No, I don't think it's not as practical. This is gonna be great because there's electrification, less moving parts,
Mhm.
which I don't know. I think that might end up in better long
Yeah,
term
they were
reliability.
saying that just in terms of long term
Cost to run.
cost to run it, it should be less, just simply due to less mechanical
Yeah. I
bits.
mean, and yeah, let's talk about pricing for a little bit, right? So we
Yeah,
have pricing from the US. XLT, the electric version is going to start 52.9, which compared to an equivalent Super Crew gas version, I'm not sure which engine you'd want to compare it to, right? The base 3.3 liter V6 like that doesn't really tow much or do much uh, at all, nor get amazing fuel economy. But you can upgrade to the 2.7 EcoBoost, which I think is a better comparison.
it's a more go to for most
Um,
people.
yeah, it's pretty good on gas. and it's got a decent amount of utility with that 2.7. It's not a big upgrade in terms of price. It's like under $1,000. But between that model with the 4x4 and the Super Crew configuration, we're only looking at about 6,000 more in terms of MSRP. Now, there's two things to consider. One is going to be the tax incentives or whatever government incentives that we're going to get on an electric vehicle, which I think will bring that difference to virtually nothing. It's going to be within less than $3,000 difference.
Mhm.
But there is another thing to consider, which is dealer incentives and promos. I don't know if anyone really pays sticker price for an F-150. So that is something to consider as well. Usually, there's good incentives on these trucks,
Mhm.
on all domestic trucks, really.
Yeah, I
Maybe
don't.
not right now,
Mm,
because it
right.
is fairly new.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think there'll be much of an incentive for the Lightning though. That's
yeah, no,
that's what I believe.
and something to consider as well is that we are in the middle of kind of a chip crisis. So most manufacturers are not getting as many vehicles out as they want to. So there's very low supply on vehicles. So at the moment, we're having pretty low supply, which means you're not going to get those big incentives that we used to be. I remember seeing what Dodge Ram they were doing. You would get like a free whatever the entry level Dodge was, like on those higher end Ram trucks, like 70 grand or whatever, they would just give you a $20,000 sedan or whatever that base Dodge Dart or Caliber was. Like that's how big of an incentive
Hmm.
people are kind of used to. Uh, we're in like 5-figure discount range for some of these models of trucks, like the higher end trucks. They have big margins on them, and from time to time there's fat rebates on them, but I don't think we'll see it anytime soon anyways. So, but it is worth considering. It's not necessarily okay, well, with the government incentive the electric one is this much. One other thing to consider, I guess, is depreciation, right? I'm always like, I think electric used cars are volatile. I don't want to say they're bad in terms of depreciation because Tesla's doing okay. Some of them are not doing so good. Like the Nissan Leaf is not great. The better years of the Kia Soul Electric do pretty okay in terms of resale. And the reason why electric cars are so volatile is the technology advances quickly, right? We're seeing big jumps in range every few years. You're not seeing that from gasoline cars, right? You're not seeing that's why Toyota's gotten away with using that 2GR and everything up to today and for at least for another 5 years because you don't see power figures jumping that quickly with gasoline cars. You don't see range or fuel economy jumping like that with gasoline cars. So the incentive to replace them or get rid of them is not as much. Whereas electric cars, you may want to jump into the new one
Yeah.
sooner. So who knows? I think there is potential here for it to be great, but there is also risk that you take with in terms of resale. But being a business use vehicle doesn't really matter, I think.
No, definitely not.
Mhm.
I just want to go back to pricing here. One quick sec is the top trim, estimated platinum model around 90,000 US dollars.
Woo.
So the platinum trim is going to be pricey, but even the standard gasoline priced platinum with options, you're looking at almost 80 or around 80,000. So it's more from what I can kind of price out right now, but of
Mhm.
course options are different and there's a lot of variables here.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a Lightning, I think the best kind of like price point you'll be getting into is probably the XLT. But if you want a few more options on it, the Lariat is the one to go to.
Yeah, I think the platinum is quite high up there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like you
Lariat's
don't
always been a pretty good value.
Yeah, with the Platinum, like you get the 22-inch wheels, the heated and cooled massaging seats, 18 speakers. Like, you don't really need that. The Lariat comes with 20-inch wheels already. You get LED bed lights, power lift and lower tailgate, a 15-inch infotainment system. Like you get the things that you need,
Mhm.
including leather seats, which I mean I really like. So I can't live without leather seats in a car
Yeah,
anymore. Um,
especially over $60,000, right? You
yeah,
don't want cloth seats.
yeah, and the option within Lariat is the phone as a key, which you
Hmm.
basically use your phone as a key. So it's one of those things that you kind of want, but I've watched a few videos of people with Mach E's using phone as a key feature, and it hasn't worked that well. Like
Yeah, it's still
people
very
got locked
new.
out.
Yeah. Let me see here.
But what Ford is doing is they are doing over-the-air updates. They called it something funny. I can't remember what it was called. Ford Power
Power
Ups.
ups.
Yeah. It's the over the air updates, which is going to be directly into your
Yeah.
truck. So you're always going to get updates very similar to like a lot of electric vehicles these days. So it's going to get better, but it's just one of those things to consider when you're buying a first gen truck.
Hmm. Yeah, and one thing to mention, I guess, with the XLT model, that's really close in terms of price point to what the Cybertruck is aiming for as
Mm.
far as their dual motor, all wheel drive version. It's around 50K US. So, a lot of equipment in this truck, right? Like that you're getting. It's not just 2,000 pounds of batteries. The overall you're getting a lot of little features here and there that you don't get on a regular F-150.
Yeah.
I don't think you're losing anything. Like at the end of the day, that is a big takeaway for me. Is that just so little
Exhaust sound.
compromise. The EcoBoost don't sound great anyways. Like the
That's
Raptor with an exhaust, just like I mean, people do it just because that's the type of people that buy Raptors, but I don't find them being like all that pleasant to anyway. So
yeah. No, I agree with you. If you want an exhaust on a truck, uh, the
it has to be
Coyote,
the V8.
yeah, the Coyote sounds a whole lot better.
Yeah, or any V8 truck really.
Like the vehicle I have this week, my TRX.
Oh yeah, well that is the polar opposite of what Ford is trying to achieve with this. We have one company trying to change the world, right? Like this is for some reason the F-150 is the best-selling vehicle. So let's anything we can do to save a few miles per gallon is going to be, huge in terms of the global impact. And then we have someone like Stellantis that and they're like, let's take any fuel savings that they can do over there, and we're just gonna. What kind of? I mean, look, what kind of fuel mileage are you getting on that?
30 liters for 100 kilometers.
30. Exactly. So we're going back to the 70s and 80s in terms of fuel consumption.
30 liters for 100 kilometers. That is just under 8 miles per gallon.
Single digit mile per gallon
Yeah.
figures. Yeah,
But
that is like 80s
miles
pickup
per
truck.
gallon, like, perfect.
There's gotta be like a breaking point. But when you're buying, $150,000 truck, who knows? Like maybe they're.
uh on the used market right now, people are racking up the TRX prices. They're about 190,000 right
I
now
see
on
they're
the
exporting them to Florida and whatever. That is the type of people that want this truck. But exactly, I think that kind of drives the point home, right? As far as why this car is so important, why this F-150 Lightning is so important is to counteract all of the negativity around trucks.
People like me driving around in TRXs with absolutely no load in it and using
One
30
one
liters.
one person in the
One
car.
person.
you're not doing like motorsports or anything. You're just like, even if you're commuting, you're doing over 20 in that. There's no
No,
way you.
I went to Costco the other day, and I went to Costco and back. Like the most careful foot I've ever, like, just ever. It was averaging like still 27. I can't get that number down.
Okay. Well, in other truck talk, why don't we move to our next topic, which is kind of like, what is there to even say about the new Tundra? Like, we're finally, after 14 years, we're getting a new Tundra. We're not getting much of it. We're getting this little animation from Toyota. It's got a new, completely different look to it. Just from this little fascia that we can see. We've got integrated grill light bars, which is what everyone's doing lately. We've got quote unquote Raptor lights, which everyone adds to their truck afterwards. Those three
This is not wide.
markers.
I don't think the Tundra is wide enough to require those.
Yeah, we don't know yet. It's definitely grown in size because the demands from 2021 or 2022 are going to be very different from what we were expecting from a truck in 2007.
Mhm.
So yeah, that is the
There's a lot of
Tundra.
rumors on this though.
There is
Rumors
high.
on like drivetrains and everything.
Yes.
There are some hybrid news that's coming down the line,
Mhm.
but nothing is for certain. So
Yeah,
who knows?
maybe a battery electric vehicle. We don't know. Toyota is definitely going that way with their full size.
Mhm.
Um, Tundra, it could be really solid, right? Like, if this Tundra may need to last another, if it needs to go another 13 years, it's got to be good. Which I think the 5.7 was really good for '07 or '09. Back then, that 5.7 was really solid. Um, decent, decent on gas for what it was worth, right at the start of the gas crisis. Um, but yeah, this Tundra,
I think it did like 15 miles per gallon combined. The 5.7.
which today is like disgusting. But the other thing is, why everyone buys a Tundra is the quote unquote million-mile Tundra, right? You want to chase that extreme reliability.
Yeah.
That is the truck to get, but I think, um, so far, I mean, my truck's been super reliable. I think,
Yeah, you don't drive
aside
it.
from, well, it's well over 120,000 K now, so
That's
it's
nothing for a truck.
it is nothing, and that's the thing. At 120,000, it still feels pretty
Kilometers,
fresh.
that is.
Yeah. So I think for a business use vehicle, again, that is like, if you're driving 20, 30,000 K a year, you're going to get a lot of years of use out of these trucks.
Mhm.
Trucks are generally easy to maintain just because everything's spread out. I don't think reliability is enough to sell a truck anymore, right?
No.
And in terms of sales figures, everyone else on the market sells more of their full size than their mid size,
Mhm.
except for Toyota, because
The the Tacoma has a cult following.
the Tacoma has a cult following and it doesn't perform in any way, but people still buy it.
Yeah.
Like, in no objective measure is a Tacoma any good. I don't get the appeal at all. And they even put in the crappier engine now. Like, the current gen Tacoma
It's a
has a crappier
3.5.
engine, 3.5. It doesn't have that truck motor anymore.
It's more
Um,
fuel efficient than the 4 liter though.
slightly. It's still not good. It's still like worse in class in terms of power and fuel economy. So I mean, what but that's the thing, right? The Tacoma, it doesn't need to perform. The Tundra needs to perform.
Yeah. To
Um,
to stand out in the market.
yeah, because people buying a midsize looking for a recreational vehicle is different from people that actually use their trucks for work, um,
Absolutely.
or to carry your family around, or anything to
Yeah.
tow. Whereas the midsize, they're more just, I want a truck for the sake of getting a truck.
getting a truck.
A lot less competitive, I would say.
The midsize market, it's currently mostly filled with people that just wants to go overlanding. They want to put a pop-up tent on the back of the bed, and the Tacoma is almost perfect for that.
Yeah, so much you can do to it from the aftermarket. But yeah, the Tundra, not so much. Just no love for it. And you really have to get it right? Full-size truck market is huge.
Mhm.
Even though the Tacoma is the market leader, that mid-size segment is still, so small compared to the full-size segment.
Tiny.
And just to, hit the nail on the head as far as how competitive is. I think GM dropped the ball on this generation of Silverado and Sierra that we saw Ram take over. Just they stepped it up so much, and it's not even about okay, well, Ram's always ahead or GM's always ahead, because they just didn't make a great interior this time around, and I think a lot of people jumped ship to other brands.
Mhm.
And I don't think, the Tundra doesn't have that following, but it has the potential. Toyota does know how to make a good vehicle. So who knows?
Definitely.
But yeah, we'll keep our eyes out for this next Tundra.
Yeah, it's supposed to be released. Is it next week? Week after? Soon? No dates? Never mind. No
No
dates.
idea.
All right, let's talk about BMW.
BMW.
The new 2 Series Coupe. So there's two series that you can get. The 2 Series Grand Coupe, which is not a 2 Series. It's a Mini Cooper that is shaped like a BMW. And then there's the actual 2 Series. This is the actual 2 Series.
This is the Enthusiast 2 Series. This is the BMW 2002. This is the one that, the successor to the 2002. And this is the one that I think people were freaking out because when the 2 Series Grand Coupe dropped, because I'm in these BMW 2 Series groups and people are like, no, are they going to make the 235 and the M2 now is going to be this beaver looking front engine squishy vehicle? With the buck tooth and the squinty eyes, like it's just not a it's an okay looking vehicle in my opinion, but it's not what people were used to, like the enthusiasts, and they thought that or
Thanks for that.
oh crap, has BMW lost it? They've now they've forgotten about the enthusiasts and just focus on the, I don't even know what you call it, because who really buys the 2 Series Grand Coupe? The posers, I guess. That's not what we were saying a few weeks ago when we were talking about that 2 Series Grand Coupe, by the way. We're being a lot, but this 2 Series Coupe, this is the FR base platform. This is the true enthusiast platform. So it's going to come out in 230i to start, and the M240i X Drive is going to be their top of the line, so called. M240i, same engine we've seen in the M340i, same engine as the Supra, the B58, I think it's called. But with
It's a great engine, I can tell you that.
Yeah, you just had the Supra, so sounds good, works good. So far, has been pretty reliable, I think. Good on gas, or okay on gas.
It's actually not bad. The
bad.
Supra was surprisingly good on gas.
Toyota did the right thing, which is going to, like, a company that really leads the charge on engine engineering.
Yeah.
Whereas Toyota is the opposite. Toyota is, if it were left to Toyota, like the new Supra would have a 2GR in it at the end of the day, and then it would have been a complete flop. And then they'd be like, no one wants sports cars anymore. They'll be like, we gave you a reliable Lotus engine, and you guys don't like it.
2GR was good though. That smooth V6
in its time, but it's no match for a B58.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, so they're still going for that 50-50 weight distribution, and there's rumors about the M2. So the M2, we don't know whether we're gonna get a manual M2 or even a rear-wheel drive M2 because they're talking about the M all-wheel drive, which is coming to the M3 and M4 very soon. So I think stay tuned in about a year or two after the 2 Series Coupe officially launches, and we'll see real M2 news. But BMW has confirmed that they will be doing an M2. So it's a little compact sports coupe just to slot below the M3 and M4. So that is this generation M2, the current generation, the one that I have, is kind of the enthusiast pick in a way.
Mhm.
Now that I've been exposed to that world a bit more, I do think the M3 and M4 are the it's the car BMW really cares about. Like they really spend a lot of time engineering those, and then the M2 is kind of like which parts bin can we grab stuff from to make this car kind of cool, but it's not like the thorough development that we got with the M3 and M4.
It makes sense. I mean, the M3 and M4 is like the main M vehicle,
Mhm.
right?
That is the iconic M vehicle as
Yeah.
well,
Even
right?
though like the 2 Series is basically the same size as like the E46
Yeah.
3 Series. It's basically the same size.
Mhm.
Um, but it's not the one that people are
Yeah.
lusting after.
And looking at these spy pictures, the car looks to be very similar in size as the
Mhm.
current 2 Series. Maybe a little bit longer in some areas, but overall proportionally looks very similar. And like the old 2 Series and the 1 Series before it, really tall roofline. Like that's something that you'll notice very different from the 4 Series. The 4 Series has that more traditional coupe roofline. The 2 and 1 Series got a much taller roof, which was great for rear headroom. In a short little car,
Mhm.
you still have really usable back seat for a coupe, at least in my opinion. So very practical, and really because of that three box design, right? That BMW's been mastering since the 2002. You have a really good trunk and you have a good cabin, I think. So it's a pretty good package. That's something you don't get with a Supra, right? You don't get much of a trunk. You get a pretty cramped interior.
Yep.
Um, so this
Horrible
is
visibility. Oh,
yeah, I think if you want to go fast with a B58 and a two-door shell, you get the Supra. But for a bit of compromise, the 2 Series Coupe is, especially in the X Drive trim, like it's still going to be fun to drive. It's going to be practical enough to take you and even like family around. I think if you have small children, I do have a few
small.
customers with M2 that use the back child seats. Um, and they're just fine with it because you have really usable trunk and all-wheel drive, all year round. Um, yeah, it's good to see that they're keeping this car around because I don't think many other manufacturers are banking on two-door coupes, at least
Yeah.
not rear-wheel drive ones, right? We'll see. We are seeing some kind of front-wheel drive and just sedan-derived vehicles, but this is
It's
a
it's
bit.
good to see. It
Yeah.
absolutely is good to see because with the when the Grand Coupe came out, everyone thought that was it with the 2 Series.
Hmm.
That was the end.
Yeah.
But speaking of the end, I have something to share. We don't actually have a press release of it, but Honda confirms that for the 11th generation, so the brand new Civic that's coming out, for the SI and the Type R, there's still going to be a manual transmission. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. The coupe is gone, as we know. The hatch
Yeah.
is going to come back soon. Not yet. But the regular sedan, you cannot get that with a manual. So the regular sedan will not have a manual. Only the SI version will have manual.
Hmm. Yeah, and just like I was talking about, like Honda, they've killed off the coupe for the Civic. The Civic Coupe used to be that sport compact icon, right? Like everyone wanted that. That's the car you customize. That's the car you put a bunch of vinyl and stripes on, put big subwoofers in. That was the car for a whole generation, your generation and my generation.
We're basically the same age.
We're not, Phyllis.
The Civic that I remembered the most was the Hot Wheels one. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, I think your generation probably more gravitated to the EM1. My generation probably more of like the 8th gen, which the 8th gen was already the beginning of the death of the coupe because the sedan looked better, in my opinion. It's more practical and it looks better. So it's like, why would you get the coupe? And then the 9th gen just solidified that even more. The coupe looked terrible, in my opinion.
That was
Yeah,
the Civic.
yeah, EM1. Yeah.
That was my high school Civic, the EM1 Civic with I think this was a Wings West body kit.
Mm-hmm.
It was the best vehicle in the world. Racing Heart wheels, you got Buddy Club stuff, Pioneer radio, like all the stickers you can think of was on there. And of course there was NOS in the trunk.
Radioactive decal in the back. Yeah, super cool. You know, that whole culture has shifted, right? Everyone wants. I think the hatchback looks sporty. You know, with the 10th gen, I think the hatchback looks more compelling than the coupe,
Yeah.
and so I get why they had to kill it off. I don't think, and I don't miss it. Like I don't think, you know, that's one of the things. A lot of car enthusiasts will be, oh, that's the last coupe. You know, the Civic Coupe. That's such an important car
I
for
don't
car culture. It had its moment, but we've evolved past that.
I don't think anyone still makes a coupe.
I not in like the compact segment anymore. At
Not
least we
not
have like
front wheel drive compact. I mean, like,
oddballs like a Veloster, if you can consider that even a coupe,
yeah,
kind of hatchback two
because
door
like
thing.
the Forte had a coupe that was killed off. The Elantra had a coupe
Yeah,
that was killed off. Corolla coupe that was killed off long ago. Um, yeah, Nissan, no, Sentra never came in a coupe. Yeah, I
no,
think the Civic Coupe was the last front wheel drive coupe that you can get.
yeah,
Hmm.
and for good reason. It's killed off for, I think, for a good reason. It just doesn't make any sense, and you're driving up your overall costs to make a car that no one will buy. Um, you know, everyone is moving towards SUVs now, so this even having sedans and hatchbacks is already like wild in a sense. Um,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, for Honda, there's like the CRV sales like totally outweigh their Civic sales. So
yeah,
like while the 11th generation Civic looks to be quite good, the CRV is going to be miles better than that, and that's going to be coming very shortly here. Should be a 2023 model we're thinking, but like that should be the next game changer from Honda.
yeah. And I mean, it is worth mentioning that the hatchback has now um, solidified its place, right? The 10th gen, they were not committed to the hatch, right? They were still manufacturing it in the UK, and now they're bringing the hatchback manufacturing back to North America. I think that's kind of noteworthy, right? They didn't want to, you know, take too big of a gamble on the hatchback here,
Mhm.
but they've decided that, okay, well, people want this,
Yeah,
and you know, if it were my choice, I would go hatchback over sedan any day. Like,
yeah,
it just, to me, it's more practical and it looks better, so it's
yeah. The trunk
no
is
brainer.
huge in the
And
hatch.
bringing it back here for manufacturing is going to bring the cost down as far as tariffs. So, you know, we don't even have that price premium anymore. And honestly, the UK made Civics were not as well made as, you know, because we work on them all the time, right? The sedans and then the Type R's, which are all made in the UK, and just like the panel gaps are pretty bad on the Type R, and you don't notice it on sedans. So I know some people thought it was like kind of a bragging right that this is a European made Civic, but
It's actually
it
not that
really
great.
wasn't. Like, pay attention to the gap between the body, like the ABC C pillar, I guess, on the hatch, and the trunk, like on any Civic hatch, whether it's a Type R or just a regular sedan, and you can see straight like into the weather seal, which is not pretty. Um, yeah,
Well, let's move on to the final thing, the video.
yeah.
Just this past week, launched the Battle of the Hybrid SUVs. Two of the biggest names in automotive manufacturing, Toyota and Ford. The Toyota, of course, with the Highlander, and Ford with the Explorer. Three-row SUVs is probably the second most popular market right now. The first being two-row SUVs, the compact ones like CRVs and whatnot. But these two, the hybrid SUVs, it's a growing market because everyone wants a hybrid SUV these days. It saves fuel, it makes sense. But what's kind of cool is Toyota and Ford, they're kind of going about it in two very different ways. So with Toyota, they went with a 4-cylinder hybrid system, which is basically the same ones that you find in the RAV4, the Sienna, the Camry, basically the entire Toyota and Lexus lineup. But Ford, they used a V6 instead of a 4-cylinder. It's kind of different, but because they use a V6, there's more power and it can tow more. And like when driving the two, using the two, I was actually quite surprised. I actually really liked the Ford because it was more spacious. It felt more confident on the road. The Toyota, because of the lighter steering wheel, it just didn't feel like much. So it just felt kind of like bland. My wife drove it for a little bit and she was like, didn't care for it. Like I was thinking, oh, what's a good hybrid SUV as our next vehicle of choice? I asked her, would Highlander work? And she's like, nope, don't like the drive of it at all. She drove the Explorer. She's like, not bad actually.
Drives
So
better. Yeah.
that's like, this is taken from my wife, who in no way is she like some driving enthusiast. She's just an average person that, has cars at her disposal at this point. And she thinks the Explorer is a better driving vehicle. And she's not wrong.
I don't think she's wrong because Toyota really doesn't care about driving dynamics. Like,
No.
I had a friend who was interested in the RAV4 hybrid, and he's like, I'm looking to test drive the car. I'm like, if you care how a car drives, you shouldn't be driving a RAV4 hybrid. Now, granted, I've done some mods to mine to stiffer springs
Make it worse.
and bigger tires, which actually has improved the handling and like destroyed the ride. But it does handle a little bit more confidently. But I don't think Toyota knows how to make uh, just a confidence inspiring car. Like, that's the thing. It's not fun to drive. I don't need my commuter to be fun to drive, but just be like relax and like I feel safe going say 140 on the highway, which in a modern car is not much, but in a Toyota it feels like okay, I'm going fast. That's kind of one of the telltale signs, right? If you catch yourself speeding and you're like, oh, I didn't know I was going that fast, that's usually a telltale sign that that car is giving you some confidence.
Mhm.
And and I never get that from a Toyota. Lexus maybe.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the differentiating thing. Even going from a RAV4 into an NX, you do feel more confident driving an NX. Just there's something about the way the chassis is tuned or the steering. I don't know what it is, but there's something about Toyota's tuning. Um, that's just a little bit off.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, and when I used both of these vehicles for my family, like putting my son into the back seat,
Mhm.
The Explorer just made more sense. The
Oh,
doors
that door
open
is a lot
wider.
longer.
They're a little
Like,
longer, but they open wider.
yeah.
So it was actually easier to get in. Like I always park at the end spot, so never have problems with like just the available size. Uh, the doors open wider. There was the proximity sensor on the rear doors, so I can unlock it from the rear doors. Like it's small things, but it made life easier,
Hmm.
and it made it easier for me to use. So I actually didn't mind driving the Explorer around.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuel economy was not as good as a Highlander by far, but I didn't mind it.
It's
Didn't
still
mind it at
good.
all.
It's still
It's
like very reasonable for a big SUV.
yeah, it's combined. You're looking at 23 miles per gallon, so under 10 liters for 100 kilometers. But the
Yeah.
Highlander gets 6.7 liters for 100 kilometers. That's 35 miles per gallon.
Yeah.
Like it's a significant difference between the Highlander and the Explorer. And these are numbers that you can get to. These are not like just EPA numbers that
Mhm.
are never achievable. These are achievable numbers.
Yeah. I do find that there's some interior trim pieces on the Explorer that feel a little bit cheap. And even the Highlander, there's kind of fit and finish issues that I noticed with that car.
Yeah.
That
With
were
both
not
of them, they
great.
had similar like kind of
Yeah,
flimsy
which
plastic kind of thing.
is fine because these are going to be cars that kids are jumping around in the back.
Yeah.
Hockey bags are going to scratch everything up. And so I don't think you need to be too precious about it. Like they're decent enough
Mhm.
that they don't feel terrible, but they are going to be a utility vehicle at the end of the day.
Yeah.
If you have something too pretty like a Palisade, I don't know if you want to be throwing a hockey bag and skates and sticks in the back. Just like ultimately how people are going to use these vehicles. Explorers had a long history of making three-row SUVs now. I think since the early 2000s, they've been a three-row configuration, and you could see that they've learned some things about making a trunk that works and a back seat that works, how to get in and out of the back seat that works. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, overall, there's quite a bit of utility. I think that's one of the things that took me, as a surprise because I never really gave the Explorer much thought, right? Like I know the Highlander, living here in Richmond, everyone just gets Toyotas. Like that's just the norm.
It's a
And
go-to.
we do get a few of the Explorers, but overall, looking at the North American figures, Explorer is not bad at all. Like they
No.
do pretty well. It is not a small sales car for Ford. It is kind of an important car.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, overall, I like. I'm surprised they did a hybrid, and I think your video helped as far as educating me into, oh, this is actually a legitimate car. Like I gave this car zero thought before. Yeah.
The Explorer, I mean, you're absolutely right. Here in Vancouver, I rarely see Explorers. The only times I
Yeah.
see them is if they're in the police interceptor package, and that's really it. That's the only time
Mhm.
we see them. But like the Explorer still makes a whole lot of sense. The vehicle itself is only a little bit longer than the Highlander, but the
Mhm.
interior space is quite a bit bigger. It's more usable. So like you can actually use it as an SUV that can carry, well, in this case, six, because it doesn't have the bench in the second row, but you can get a bench so to carry seven. Highlander, it has room for eight technically because it's two, three, and three. You're not going to carry three in the back. You're barely going to carry two in the back comfortably.
Mhm.
So, I mean, when you need to carry people, the Explorer makes a whole lot of sense. And of course, if you need something bigger, Ford, has your back on that as well.
Yeah, and you know what? Ford has ditched their minivan quite a while ago.
The
Uh,
Freestar.
the Freestar, Windstar, whatever star, and the Freestyle. If you
Oh
remember
yeah,
that, the
yeah, the
Taurus
Freestyle,
X.
the Taurus
Uh,
X. Yeah.
that wasn't really a minivan. It was kind of like an in-between wagon van thing.
Crossover wagon.
Um, yeah, so Ford is like, okay, this is the direction people want in a 3-row vehicle. They don't want a minivan, or we can't make one that really competes. I think they've accepted that. But yeah, I think that's why they've put more into this Explorer to make it work as far as a utility vehicle. Whereas Toyota can always fall back on, well, if you want that extra utility, get the Sienna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. If
Yeah.
like ultimate truth is these two SUVs, don't get them. Get a Sienna.
I know that is what you gravitate to always, the Sienna,
It makes
because
so much more
it just
sense.
makes sense, yeah. But some people want this. Well, and that's the thing. I think the Explorer, it pulls it off because the Explorer has that more rugged look,
Yeah.
and I can see why you would want to get into that rather than a Sienna, because
Mhm.
the Sienna makes sense as far as like if you are using that 3-row regularly,
Yeah.
right? But as far as someone who may only use it on a weekend, oh, we need to pick grandma and grandpa up, and we're gonna need the kids to jump in the back, then I think the Explorer or like this type of SUV is sufficient.
Mhm.
Because again, we're talking about how people are going to use it 99% of the time versus that 1% of the time when the Sienna will be vastly superior.
Yeah.
Now, for day-to-day driving, I think having that rugged look, especially if you can get that, what was
That
that
new
Timberline?
wilderness package, whatever it's called.
Timberline, I think it's called,
Oh yeah,
that we talked
Timberline.
about
Yeah, yeah,
last week.
yeah.
If you can get that in a hybrid, like that would be sick.
Oh, that's not gonna happen.
Um, it probably isn't, but you can make your regular Explorer hybrid look more like that,
Look a
you
little bit
know?
more aggressive. Get some
Yeah.
knobbly tires. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I think that would be pretty cool as far as like a family hauler. The Highlander, on the other hand, though, I don't
No.
think it looks cool at all. So it kind of defeats the purpose. Like a Pilot looks cooler than an Odyssey in some ways.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Highlander really pulls off that.
No, it really
Why is
doesn't.
someone buying this type of vehicle? They're buying it because they don't want a minivan. And then you gave them something with really odd curves in the wrong places and just like not a very aggressive look. Like we
But
were saying earlier, the previous gen looked better, I want to say.
the previous Highlander definitely looks better. But Highlander, there is a version that is a little bit more exaggerated.
Mhm,
You may recall the Highlander Xse.
mhm.
So it is a brand new model that they announced for 2021. I'm not a fan. I think it looks hideous, but they increased the size of that front grille. They haven't done anything else really to it, and it's supposed to be like their sporty model.
Yeah,
Um,
it's just
it, it's not done well, in my opinion. Like
and
I don't like this, um, and
yeah,
like it's not any
the
better.
back is the same.
I
No,
don't
that's
think
not
that's the
it.
actual
That's
rear end.
not it.
I don't think that's the actual
No,
rear end. But okay, this is an image from Motor Trend, the
it
regular
doesn't
model,
look
and then the
better.
XSE.
It doesn't. All they've done with the XSE on the Highlander is just draw more weight, like visual weight, to the lower portion of the
Yeah,
bumper, and that kind of makes it look more like a van. Like,
it doesn't look great. If you really want a sportier looking Toyota like that, there's something called the Sienna. The Sienna XSE looks a whole lot better. This is much more appealing than the Highlander. It has the same kind of looks on the side and that kind of
mhm,
bulbous rear end that the
yeah,
Supra has. Like, I don't mind it on the Sienna. I think it
yeah,
looks good on it.
they
But on the
designed,
Highlander, it
yeah,
doesn't work.
yeah, that curve in over the rear wheel looks a lot better in the Sienna, a
Yeah.
lot less awkward. And looking at the cars up close, like the panel gaps are way better on the Sienna. Uh, the the hood on the Highlander always looks like it's open. I don't know if you see one, like I was talking about with the Civic, like it looks like between the headlight and the hood, you can stick your finger in there. Like
There's
I
a
don't know
larger gap
how.
than normal.
Yeah, in 2022 or 2021, Toyota is getting. Look at this. Like that trunk does not look like it's closed.
But look at the aero skirts that you got on the bottom and the dual exhaust.
Okay, that is kind of nice.
That's the XSC trim. That's what you
Yeah, true.
get.
Yeah, but take a look if you're shopping for these cars. Just take a look. Even in Toyota's pictures, the trunk does not look closed. Like even that white one is like a stock photo, and the trunk is like the gap is insane.
Yeah,
The
there's a
trunk
gap
gap
in
and the
here that will
hood
make
gap.
Tesla owners jealous.
Yeah, exactly. Like Toyota, always people always talk about the quality, and so like the initial quality is just not there. Like squeaky plastics, I think, and just like big panel gaps is kind of the norm. Where you get Toyota quality is 20 years down the road when the engine's still running. Obviously,
Yep.
that's that is the quality, quote unquote. But in terms of initial quality, if it's a car you're going to keep for 3 or 4 years, you're not going to like it. Like you're going to find, oh, it's got really cheap plastics in some areas. I don't think if you're someone that cannot keep a car, if you're, I do have a lot of customers like that change cars every year and they lose a ton of money on them, but they just can't resist. Don't get a Toyota.
Toyota's for someone that wants to keep their car long term. That's what it kind of comes down to.
I think so.
Yeah. In any case, anything else you want to add to?
Oh, the Hummer. They released the weight on that. Let's
Oh,
talk about.
so yeah, we talked about the Hummer. I think like a few weeks ago, but yeah, I'll let you. I'll let
April
you add.
7th. Over 9,000.
9,000 pound SUV.
9,000
That's a
pounds.
lot of weight.
That is two F-150s.
Yeah,
Like the regular, not the electric one,
not the electric one, but
but
the
that is
regular
two
model.
F-150s.
That's a lot of weight.
It's a lot of truck. I
I'm
don't
just,
know how it will work off road.
it's just gonna sink into everything, or when it's trying to climb over an obstacle, it'll just flatten the obstacle instead.
Yeah.
That's all it needs to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is the point that we're driving home is how heavy this Hummer is. I haven't seen that kind of figure in a long time. It weighs more than the H1. That like
oh,
apparently it weighs more than an H1. So that is
H1.
how electric technology works. Because I guess batteries are not as power dense as gasoline. Maybe I don't know. I don't know
Well,
why it's so heavy.
hopefully with battery technology, it will get better. It has gotten a lot better, but it still has a long way to go. That's what it comes down to, right? I mean, if we look at the first generation Nissan Leaf, that was 100-kilometer range electrical car. Now it's 400 or so
Yeah, and
kilometers.
we need those cars that we were skeptical about to really move the market forward
Yeah,
and to get things like the F-150 electric that are going to change the world and are going to reduce that fossil fuel dependence big
yeah,
time. Yeah, so I think this truck is just so important. We're always going to have electric car news, but this truck I think may be the biggest deal of the year because this is literally going to be the best seller. I
it
think.
will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. In any case, thank you everyone for watching and listening. If you're listening to one of our many different places of actual audio podcasts, and we'll catch you next time, same place, same time, and we'll go for more car news then. Take care, everyone.
Catch you on the flippity flip.